Good evening, Miami. Happy Hump Day. Welcome to another episode of Fast Break with my brother from the West Coast, Justin Garfield. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. Good to see everybody.
Good to see. But Mr. Rob Parks Jr., how you doing, my man?
What's up, people? How you guys on?
And our special guest, Mr. James Brooks from LA as well. How you doing, James?
Good. Good to be on.
Well, it's funny. We got Wolf Coast today. We got the East Coast and we got the West Coast. We had our draft special, obviously, last Thursday. We had to cut it off after the first round because it was just late and we were tired. So I'll throw it out there. What's your reaction, James? You're our guest. I want to get your reaction, obviously, on the Lakers front and the whole NBA. Really, who won the draft for you, man?
Well, I mean, you can't ignore the Spurs getting the number one pick and getting Wemby, obviously. It'll be interesting to see how he pans out and stuff. I feel like, for the most part, the draft kind of went how I expected for the most part. Like, there wasn't a ton of surprises on my end based on kind of what I was expecting. From the Lakers standpoint, Fino out of Indiana, kind of excited to see him and whatnot. But also as a Lakers fan, like, I try not to get too attached to draft picks because, with LeBron and all that stuff, it's like, we don't see
it's just a matter of time.
Too long. It's just a matter of time. And I mean, he seems like a great player. And I'm down to, I think that he has a lot that he can bring to the table for the Lakers specifically that I'm excited about. But yeah, I try not to get too attached too early. That's for sure.
And it's funny because with the new CBA, we're going to start seeing a more uptick in the first round picks, second round picks. So that's going to be a changing timeline as it goes on. Rob, you couldn't be with us on the draft night. What is your take? Obviously, even after we talked about the traded Beal, Washington stockpiled some picks of what they could for him. So what is your take of the whole first round, second round? Who won the draft for you, man?
I mean, I would have to agree with Justin saying San Antonio, of course, number one pick. A sleeper pick, I like Houston's picks. Amen Thompson and Whitmore,
Yes.
Now, they have a young team, like it's a bunch of young players, so how that's going to come together, it remains to be seen. Both of those guys have major talent. I like the Lakers picks. Like you said, don't get too attached because as long as LeBron is there, those picks can get flipped and get traded immediately. And I like the Heat's pick, man. I like the guy out of UCLA, man. How you say his name?
Jaime Jaquez, yeah.
Jaime Jaquez, yeah.
Jaime Jaquez.
I remember seeing him. Actually, I saw the video today. They played pickup out of LA, and he was going one-on-one with Paul George.
Yeah.
He was giving Paul George buckets.
Yeah, he's a bucket.
Serious, like, so, that
it's funny.
He's a Miami Heat type of guy. Like, he just fits in. Like, he's a hard-nosed, gets buckets, plays D, hustles. So he can come in and play right away, depending on what the Heat do. If the Heat keeps Strus or Vincent, it remains to be seen. But if he has to step in right away, he can. So I like the Heat's pick.
And it's great because we're actually going to bring that up. Obviously, the whole buzz now, Bruce is probably going to sign right away in free agency. He's going to have multiple offers. And we talked about it before where Vincent is most likely the player that we're going to keep out of those two, even with the situation. We'll bring it up now. But, Justin, we were live. We had the reaction. You know how I felt when I saw Whitmore keep falling. I thought that the Heat might make a play for him. I know Bobby kept feeding me Jackets, and I'm like, he's the more athletic version of Strus. Obviously, the more videos you see, like I tell him, the only weakness that I see, he really can't go right. He doesn't go right at all. But that's something I would say you can work around. And he does fit the mold. He's 22. He's a four-year starter, I believe, at UCLA. So he has the mold to step right in. And he fits exactly our persona, our culture. So we saw the draft. Obviously, the whole situation now with Dame. I do believe the Heat have, I'll preface this, I do believe the Heat have the best stance in being patient because our current situation doesn't really allow us to be free players. We can't do any signing trades. So the contracts that we will be doing is either re-signing our own guys or waiting for minimum. So we're not really going to miss out on much this season, if anything at all. So because you kind of have your free agent plan already. How do you feel this whole situation is going to play out? Because I do feel it's a PR masterclass. At this point, you really don't know if Portland is playing the field, Damian is playing the field. Is this back and forth? There's just no clarity. For some reason, you kind of have that feeling it's going to end up with a Beal situation where Dame stays another year. And this might be a year too late. So, Justin, I'll start with you. How do you feel this whole situation is going to pan out with Dame?
We've seen big surprises close to the NBA season. If you remember about 11 years ago, a week before the season started, James Harden was traded, and that shook the NBA world, changed the Rockets franchise for the next decade, and the Thunder never made it back to the finals after that. It was a trade nobody really saw coming, but really just shook up the landscape of two different franchises and the NBA as a whole. We saw the breakup of one super team. We also saw a couple years ago Kyrie Irving request a trade right before the season started, and that came out of nowhere too, completely out of left field. But they made it happen to Boston. Cleveland still went to the finals, and Boston failed with Kyrie, and so he fled to Brooklyn. We all know that whole saga. He seemed like that type of guy who would try and screw a team over last second. He would make sure that something is out there. But the way that I see this going, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, at least this year. I think Dame is going to just feel it out one more year and see where this team is. And if they, with these young players, get close to dethroning Denver, then maybe he's got hope to stay in Portland for the rest of his career. But if things go south pretty quickly and they're losing, say, 17 to 18 games in the beginning of the season, then I see, okay, Dame may stick around here for the rest of the year and then that's it. Or he may be more savage and say, let's do this mid-season and we'll shake everything up. You guys can start to rebuild. I can go to Miami or wherever.
Rob, what do you feel, man?
Remember what I said 2 weeks ago? If Dame Lillard drags his feet, who did I say? Kyrie Irving. So, hey, don't be surprised. If Dame drags his feet, Ira Winderman said Kyrie wants to be here. So, look, if free agency comes, if Kyrie signs with the Miami Heat, don't be surprised. Because they keep saying he's going to go back to Dallas, but why? They didn't make the playoffs. They're not that good. He's going to waste more years in Dallas. He's not going to win the championship in Dallas. No way. It's not happening.
And James, before I go to you, Kyrie, ideally, the one of the options obviously is the Lakers. LeBron connection. They do got the cash space to do a sign and trade. Unfortunately, right now with our current roster, we can't even sign and trade for Kyrie. So we will have to do some massive cap moves. Where they're talking about the possibility. Barry Jackson talked about the possibility of releasing, waiving and stretching Lowry. I don't know how factual this. If I'm willing to give up assets like a first round pick for someone to take Lowry's contract, and you got to move more pieces and or even acquire Kyrie. So I know it could be done. It just takes more mountains to climb. So it is a realistic basketball fallback option. And I do think the Dame situation, the ones that play out the most, is the Heat, because since we're such a cap situation that we're in, we can afford to wait until August 30th, until September. We can afford to wait all day because we're really not missing out on much. But you got our main competition is probably the Nets. So the Nets are going to go about their business. If they see a Dame situation that I'm finding out, they still got their picks. They're going to go about their business. But now, if you wait too long, Kyrie and the Lakers. James, I go to you. Is that the most realistic scenario for the Lakers to improve and be contenders right now this season?
I don't think so, personally.
Okay.
I mean, Kyrie obviously brings a lot to the table from a basketball standpoint. So, if he were to come to the Lakers, if the Lakers decided that was the best thing for them, then sure, I would get excited for it. But Kyrie just he's gone everywhere he's gone. He's left the teams with a bad taste in their mouth, And so, he gets hurt, and he's a great basketball player for sure. And so in that sense, I'm torn. I would love to see him in a Lakers uniform for that reason. But what it would take, the same thing with the Heat, what it would take for the Lakers to acquire Kyrie, sign and trade, all that stuff, it would take getting rid of a lot of assets. And, one of my big things for the Lakers, plan 1A and plan 1B is, in my opinion, bringing back Austin Reeves and bringing back Rui Hachimura. You get the big 3-and-D wing kind of out of Rui. Obviously, Austin Reeves has shocked basically everybody, being an undrafted guy in his second season with the production he gave the Lakers in the playoffs and everything like that. So, but you can't bring back both those guys and also bring Kyrie. And again, we're talking, you might think that's crazy, right? We're talking Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura versus Kyrie Irving, but I just what we saw with the Lakers and the depth that they had in the playoffs and how much that helped them even make a playoff push and everything, you just have to get rid of so much depth to bring in Kyrie. So, and talking Dame, right? I think that's why Dame's a perfect fit. Could be a perfect fit for the Heat, right? It's like if you don't have to give up a ton to bring him in, then you bring in a guy that can handle the ball, shoot threes alongside Jimmy Butler, who's, you know, a killer down in the paint and the mid range and stuff. So, but at the same time, Dame's one of those guys that I feel like there's always rumors around him and nothing ever happens. So I feel like I'll believe it when I see it.
And if this is the year, if there's any year for him to go, is this year, because they've even mentioned across the board, the media themselves are kind of behind him. Like, they see that he's been there for 10 plus years. But they were even talking about the points that he's had some teams. Obviously, he lost LaMarcus Aldridge. He left as a free agent. They traded CJ McCollum. Obviously, you're not going to realistically, no GM is going to trade Scoot Henderson for any upgrade like that. You cannot pass up on a talent like Scoot at 3. But can you build around him? Yeah, you can. But even his scenario, when we were talking about his dream scenario, was like Draymond and Jeremy Grant. I'm like, does that even put you in the top in the West, man? Like, I know you want to compete and you're a competitor at heart, but if you're really about winning championships, and if that is your goal, you've given it your all. You can cordially part ways, kind of like the KG situation in Minnesota. I mean, no one hated him in Minnesota. The time came. Like, your time expired there. They want to rebuild as a franchise. So his contract is massive enough that the assets, if he pencils Miami as his only destination, obviously the GM's going to work with him. We're going to give up assets, but it might not cost us an arm and a leg. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we can do the Kyrie sign and trade. It just hard caps us at that number, and then it automatically wins the second apron, which is something that you have to take into account in regards to your mid-level exceptions, signing buyout players. If there's a franchise, I know the Suns did it. The Suns just went right through the second apron. They didn't even fucking see it. They just took off. And they're in the third apron. But if there's a franchise that can do it, it's Miami, because we can develop our players. We can fill out a rotation with undrafted players, with our first round pick, with second round picks. So that I understand. But realistically, Justin, how do you see, if it's not Dame for Miami? Dame is out of the picture. He says, I'm coming out right now. I'm staying in Portland. You have to switch gears. Who are your viable options for Miami to upgrade? For example, obviously, I understand Vincent and Strus, so you can take that into account too. You're going to resign him. You're going to go above the cap again. You're already going to be a cap team. You're a luxury tax team. You're just going to go deeper into the tax. So there, Justin, you get no Dame. What do you counter with?
This is obviously not Damian Lillard, but what about going after a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who's probably maxing himself out in Utah at this point? That team's not going anywhere. Miami could really use a scorer like him off the bench, especially if Tyler Hero has another injury. And Max believes in those guys.
Now you say Utah, Colin Sexton. I know they're shopping him around. I know we can't get Laurie. They're not going to trade us Laurie. They already absorbed John Collins' contract. So there's what teams right now are left with cap space to absorb contracts that would actually do it? Like, will San Antonio even do that at this point? Because Houston is going to go. Houston is going to go for some free agents. They're going to try to sign a free agent. Is there any team, Rob, that you can see that is willing to take on Lowry's contract that might have even been interested in him? Man, for a first-round pick,
I'm going to be honest, man. He makes too much money. He's probably going to get waived and bought out. Yeah. I was just reading that before I got on the show, so he's probably going to get waived, man. I can't see.
They put that as one of the fallback options. But then that's a $9 million cap hit every year for the next 3 years. So I know you
want to say look at Clarkson maybe to LA to the Lakers, because he is on Clutch Sports, that Clutch Sports connection. Rich Paul's his agent. LeBron's on the Lakers, so he's played for the Lakers before. That could happen.
Clutch Sports is out of hand. When I heard that they were calling all the GMs to make sure that his client was not picked in the second round until he was the last pick of the second round. I'm like, people don't realize the relationships that agents have with GMs, and that's how all these things go. Like, we just see the news and we're all surprised and all that, but you can kind of see. Did you expect Dame to demand a trade after that meeting?
I did.
Ask around the panel. Did you expect it or no?
I expected it, and he didn't. So now I'm just like, he's probably going to end up staying, man.
Yeah, because it's basically one of those, like, what have you done?
The Portland's not winning a championship. So, what's your goal? Is your goal to get paid as much as you can, or is your goal to win championships? What are you playing for?
Exactly.
You got to ask yourself that. Does Dame really want to win, or is Dame comfortable first and second round exits for the rest of his career? If
And the
that,
loyalty thing's admirable, but like at a certain point,
Exactly.
you know.
It's only so far. It's like I call it like the martyr complex. Like you want to show that you're a fighter and you're a warrior, and I'm gonna no one's gonna I'm gonna try to achieve the ultimate goal. But it comes a point that you're not gonna win a championship unless you have the talent around you and the organization around you that is willing to do so. And I mean, the writing's on the wall. If you look at that team is basically Damian Lillard is the eyesore of that team. I understand it's Damian Lillard, but I don't mean it in that way. What I'm saying is roster construction. You can tell that's a young team that just wants to rebuild. They already have Anthony Simmons, which is kind of part of the rebuild. Effective shooting guard, great player. You got Sharp, you got Nassar Little. If we take Dame,
can't forget Scoot,
and obviously Scoot this year, we would take on. Look, that's an option. Trade options. If we trade Dame, we can acquire Jusuf Nurkic and his contract. We can absorb that. That limits what we have to send back. Nurkic?
Yeah, that's what they said. They would probably get him if they got Dame.
He kind of fits what you need. I mean, the contract is manageable. You're already going to be a cap team. You're going to be a second-apron team for the next 3 years. But this is the plus side. The next 3 years, we're a cap team, right? We can't do anything. That's our team. Okay, undrafted players, all right. In 2027, I believe, all those contracts are off the books, except when you have Bam as a 28-year-old, 29-year-old, you can rebuild this team again within a 3 or 4 year period. So you can go for it. I mean, the Suns for right now are doing that, but they have an older assemble, and they have no draft picks. So that's it. They're going to be all those veteran minimums, those 34, 35-year-olds chasing a ring. They're going to go to Phoenix. They're going to fill out that roster that way. We've seen this done before. But I'm excited to see what happens because the new CBA has thrown so many wrenches at some of these teams' plans. Even though the salary cap is going to go up, and when the new TV contract comes out like in a few years, obviously it's going to skyrocket again. But this CBA is basically designed to blow up your third max contract. You can have 2 max contracts. You can have a $20 million contract, 25. But when you get into the 3 max contract territory, you have to be very creative how you build these teams. And a lot of these teams don't have the organizational structure to identify some of this undrafted talent. A lot of these teams are based on their market and their draft picks. So this CBA is going to work it's going to balance out the whole NBA, and there's already parity enough. So I'm going to throw this out here. James, Lakers offseason. I know I throw the Kyrie thing at you. Ideally, what is the perfect offseason for Lakerland?
I think what I've been saying a lot of is bringing in a formidable big to play alongside Anthony Davis. I think we've tried Anthony Davis at the 5 for a couple seasons now, and while in theory it's great, like Anthony Davis is great because he can transform your team to be a team that can play big against big teams and small against small teams. But like we saw, I don't think the 2019-2020 season was a fluke. I think that he just plays really well when he's at the 4. If you have a guy like, we had JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard back in that season, is there a big that we can bring in? That's kind of like one of my first thoughts. Ideally, like the perfect person would probably be like someone like Brook Lopez. Now I think he's too expensive. I don't think that the Lakers could bring him in, but maybe we can find, maybe it's Robin Lopez, or it would be a step down from that Brook Lopez level, right? I'm not saying like Robin Lopez.
Don't do Robin. No.
Maybe we bring back Thomas Bryant if we can, or something, or just someone that can kind of take the load off of Anthony Davis and preferably also stretch the floor. But I don't think that's necessarily a need. And I think something that the Lakers are always needing on top of that is just shooting. Guys that can shoot and spread the floor around or space the floor around LeBron and Anthony Davis. And, we got some of that in Austin Reeves, and Rui stepped up in the playoffs, hitting threes and stuff. D'Angelo Russell, unfortunately, went the opposite direction in the playoffs. But, I like what D'Angelo Russell has to offer for the most part. I don't know that he's a championship level starting point guard, but someone that can come in and shoot for us. And I don't know, maybe is that Seth Curry? You know, I don't. There's a lot of names that have been floating around, and I don't know how realistic any of the. You know, it just depends, right? If the Lakers decide to hold on to like Mo Bamba, he's like $10 million on the books, or I think he's actually on contract already still. Right, but that, depending on who the Lakers decide to bring back or not bring back, obviously changes who they can go out and get in free agency. So it just kind of depends. But those are some names that I've seen kind of floating around.
And Rob, you mentioned Houston. And
hold on, I was going to say, do you want to keep D'Lo or you want to let him walk?
I'm really torn in the middle because I think that he's a great regular season guy. You know, I think that. What do you say? You want him out?
Get him out of here, man.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I was really big on him. I thought he did it. I thought he was huge for us to like get that playoff push, to make that playoff push, and he had some big games. Unfortunately, didn't have a great playoffs in general. I mean, he had some big games, right? He had some big moments, right? The Lakers got a huge win in Game 4 against the Grizzlies, where he hit like not 3 threes in a row to get us back in that game, and then push overtime with LeBron and all that stuff. So he definitely like played a huge role in the Lakers actually doing as well as they ended up doing this past season. But like I said, I don't think he's a championship caliber level starting point guard. So in that sense, if the goal is to win championships, then I guess not as a starter at least.
Yeah, he's a combo guard. You can bring him off the bench. He could give you some instant scoring, but he's not. Like you said, he's not your point guard of a championship.
He's just in the middle where it's like he's too expensive to be a bench guy, but he's not good enough to be a championship guy. Is kind of how I see it. So that's why I'm torn. That's why I'm in the middle on it. You know,
Justin, I'm gonna start with you because I think out of the young cores in the NBA, the most promising one is Houston, and I know you're a Houston fan, so I want to get your thoughts on, because I understand the James Harden scenario. I believe he still hasn't opted out or opted in his player option, so he's leaving his options open. I know there's rumblings about Houston. I know Houston's going to try to make a push for Brook. I want to get a perspective because I'm torn. If with your cap space, do you go for these instant upgrades? Like, I know they're going to play for Van Vliet. I'm not a big fan of giving Van Vliet all that money. But is Houston going to handicap its youth and its growth by doing those moves, like acquiring a Brook, a Van Vliet? Do you want them just to basically build in season? You got Ime Udoka, which is a great coach, so you're going to develop your talent. You have another year of Green and Porter Jr. of maturity. You got talent now. Do you want to build towards the future, or do you want an influx of veteran to mesh with this team and make a push for anything?
That's a yes and no answer. Yes, because Houston needs to get the salary floor, which they're not at currently. So they do need to go after some of those guys like a Brook Lopez or a Fred VanVleet. But no, because if you get a guy like James Harden, who's still in the weaning years of his prime, that's going to change everything. And it's going to stunt all this growth that you've had the last 3 years or lack thereof, that now finally are allowed to grow. With Ime Udoka coaching, with a real point guard prospect, with Amen Thompson you just drafted, with a guy like Cam Whitmore who's got a chip on his shoulder who could come in and maybe be that glue guy or that swingman to get you 15, 20 off the bench as his rookie. And Harden's going to demand the ball the entire time. We all know that, unless they go into free agency meeting with them saying, look, we know you want to be here, but we want you here only in the capacity of being a mentor for these young guys. If you're wanting to come back, this is where we are. But I don't think James Harden is still in that mindset. He wants to go win championships. So if I'm Harden, I don't know why you're going back. There's plenty of time right now during the summer and Christmas break, the All-Star break, to go enjoy the strip clubs. Just enjoy it.
If I'm Houston, if I'm Miami, I'm Houston. Hey, we'll give you Lowry, man. We'll give you Lowry for the first round pick. You can take. You got some cap space.
Locker room voice, Kyle Lowry. He was a former Rocket.
Help me, help you. I'll give you another first round pick. You can build around. Also, it'll be 2029, whatever. But Kyle Lowry this year. That's one option. I'm gonna get a quick game. Rob, I'm gonna throw a few names out there. Let me know what you think is gonna happen. Because I see fit. One of the first things that popped up when they did this, the extension for Nas Reed in Minnesota. You have too many centers, and they don't fit. So I know most likely Cat is on the move. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they can trade Gobert. They could try to trade Gobert, But how do you think Minnesota solves their front court problems?
I mean, they may start off the year with them, but I see Cat getting traded. And I mean, don't be surprised if the Lakers try to make a play for Cat if they can.
That was a follow-up, James. Would you like
how much money does he make a year?
Well, Cat right now is at I think 30 something, but then his extension kicks up to like 50 or 40 something in the following years. I mean, realistically, Lakers are waiting.
Why have 3 centers under contract, like a big contract? It doesn't make sense. Like Nas Reed just signed this week. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing in Minnesota, but
that's the thing. When I saw that extension, I'm like, there's 2 things. Either they're going to move Cat or Gobert. And you can try to recoup Gobert's the package you pay for Gobert, which was really just first-round picks. The rest are just salary cap feathers. But still,
the Lakers have been interested in Nas Reed, so I don't know where Minnesota signing him came from, but
I have no.
They may start the season with him, and then one of those guys goes to a contender mid-season.
It's funny to me. Which all this free agent is maybe 3 days away, 4 days away. So all these teams where you kind of start making these moves, and as a fan, and you're just analyzing the moves, and you're like, why are they doing this? And then obviously it starts clicking when all these free agents starts flying off the board. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston or Lakers go for Max Strus. Why do you need shooting? So I would not be surprised at all if that's one of the cases. Or maybe just a playoff team just willing to put him in. So there's scenarios that can happen with, for example, like you mentioned, Philadelphia. Philadelphia cap team that basically they can use Harden for a sign and trade. So that could be something that can move the needle. Where does Harden fit? What does Philadelphia do to upgrade? Because you got Tyrese Maxey. They're gonna try to move Tobias Harris, but no one's like the package that they're asking for Tobias Harris, which is insane, and he's not a productive player. You have Boston that made the moves for Porzingis. They traded Smart, which is obviously I think is an underrated move by Memphis. Memphis just got a whole lot better defensively, and they have that veteran leadership. And I think Boston, they are going to be more versatile offensively because that's what they wanted to do with Danilo last year, even off the bench. But defensively, Boston took a huge hit because they really have no on-ball defender that can stop anybody. I know you can talk about White and even Brown at times, but they really you just shifted your whole culture there. So I understand there's going to be more parity across. And in the offseason, is there any surprise move? I know Wendy today kind of gave a little thing about Cleveland is trying to do something. They might be moving some pieces. So is there anything that you heard, James, over there on the West Coast? Anything in regard, for example, even the Clippers? I'm interested to see what happened with Paul George. I know there were some rumblings about possibly moving him. Anything in the West Coast that would surprise you by any of those teams?
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that would really surprise. I think the Paul George news kind of surprised me a little bit, just because the Clippers did so much to bring him in with Kawhi and all that stuff that like moving off of him would be kind of a big kind of admitting that they can't get done with what they thought and everything that they traded for him and all that stuff. It's a big. Same thing with the Timberwolves, right? Same thing with Rudy Gobert. They traded so much to bring in Rudy Gobert. I'd be very surprised to see him be the one that they move off of. It'll probably be Karl Anthony Towns. So in that sense, like maybe I'd be surprised about those moves only because of what those teams did to bring guys onto their team. But I don't know that I'd necessarily be super shocked by any of the news, but I think that there's just teams out there that are doing so much to bring certain guys in that when it gets to the point where it's not working or it doesn't work out, that they're just kind of left like looking just really dumb and feeling like they can't make certain moves, and so and maybe the Lakers are kind of like that even with the D'Angelo Russell situation, right? Like they didn't give up a ton to bring in D'Angelo Russell. Like overall, it was a good trade in the end, I think, and it all worked out better for the Lakers. But the Lakers are in that same situation with D'Angelo Russell now. It's like, okay, he was kind of good, but we gave up some stuff to bring him in. Is it worth bringing him back? It's kind of like what we were talking about before. So I feel like there's definitely movement is going to happen, but I feel like a lot of it, like the stuff that's kind of been rumored and stuff, wouldn't necessarily shock me too much.
And Rob, I'll go to you and Justin, you can follow up. Draymond Green, chances that he leaves Golden State.
My gut says he stays, but if he does go, I say Lakers or Memphis.
Yeah.
Lakers or Memphis?
But my gut says he stays.
I think there's
He
like a lot of
stays. Okay.
rumors. A lot of rumors.
Yeah.
Like everyone's. I mean, that's the thing with the Lakers. Everyone likes to just rumor that someone's going to go to the Lakers, right? It's happened with Damian Lillard.
That's
for
leverage.
years.
That's LeBron's boy, though.
Exactly.
That's
No,
LeBron's boy.
no, I know.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the more realistic ones where I could see it happening. But I feel like, again, it's the same thing where it's like with the draft stuff. I try not to get my hopes up too much because everyone's always rumoring everyone to go to the Lakers. So
Man, I'm pretty sold on Harden going back to Houston, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I spent some time down there. He has a club/restaurant called 13. That's his home. He loves it. He loves strip clubs.
That's his home.
He loves the culture, man. He wants to go back so bad. He doesn't care that they're young. Like, he just wants to go back.
He just wants the ball.
I think he's gone, man.
Hey.
If he stays in Philly, I'll be shocked.
So, Rob, the question brings up is if he does go back, do they change the roster and fill with veterans to win, or do they keep it young and he mentors them?
A combination of both.
So
Of course,
who
you
would
got
you keep out of this young core right now?
You got to keep Jalen Green, let Kevin Porter Jr. go. You got to keep the 2 draft picks. I would say sign James and maybe get like Brook Lopez. I don't think they can't afford Van Vliet if they get James. Right?
If you get James, you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get James, sign Brook Lopez and see what you can do.
Does San Antonio have cap space still?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they got cap space.
They want Austin Reeves. Yeah, they want Austin Reeves.
Hey, it was crazy. Lakers could match.
The Lakers said they'll match up to $100 million.
Yeah, well, that's why I've heard that the Lakers that was the big reason that they saw or that they drafted who they got in the first round.
Chifano?
Yeah. Was because they're a little worried that Austin Reeves is going to get offered something that they're not willing to match, and that they think that he could be a good potential backfill for that skill set that Reeves had. So that's definitely something to watch out for.
And bro, this year there's so many pieces. Like, for example, the Cam Johnson to the Pistons. That's the rumor that keeps on coming up because of Monty Williams. And Pistons have the cap space to offer that deal. And they have a young squad. What I see, for example, in Orlando, Houston, you got these young teams that are up and coming that are ultra talented. For example, Orlando has a surplus of guards. Now you're possibly going to move either Jalen Suggs. So there's going to be a lot of player movement going on in regards to. I understand people were surprised by the move. There's going to be a lot more moves coming up. People just loading up contracts and acquiring picks. Or like people that are about to hit rookie scale contract extensions because they're cheap talent.
Hey, speaking of Orlando, don't be surprised if Orlando tries to make a trade for like Paul George or somebody.
They have the assets, man. Look,
they have the assets. I actually cover them. They got the assets. They could do it right now if they want. So
they can do it right now. And the other team I see, OKC.
Friday, June 30th is starter free agency, so it's about to be a zoo. Get ready.
OKC, when they drafted Wallace, the point guard, I'm like, whoa, wait. They got Giddey. They got SGA. Holmgren is coming up now. Like, this is his rookie year. OKC is stacked, and they have all the picks for the next. All the picks are either the Nets or OKC, and for the next 10 years, man. So
Clippers.
You have it's crazy how you have the NBA right now. You have the youth movement, so you see the parity, but then you have 3 or 4 teams that are going to be second apron teams, and they're going for it. But they might be coming meshing, and they just might intersect where some of these young teams are going to overtake some of these older teams, more experienced teams, just on pure talent alone and depth. Because a lot of these teams are going to have an issue with older depth. That's one thing that superstar, for example, Phoenix. I understand what Phoenix is doing. I get it. But they're top heavy. If you don't have the proper depth, the decent shooting, size, and health, you're not going to do anything against Denver. You're not going to do anything against other teams that are stacking up to face you and knock your ass off the playoffs. That's just realistic. And you're an injury away. Because realistically, Phoenix doesn't do anything in the 4 years. You're going to rebuild around Booker. You might trade off an Aiden here and there, but God knows what value they're going to have there. in the East, even Indiana is scary. Detroit, what we mentioned before, like there's talent all around. So I'm gonna throw this scenario out there. This one final game we'll play. I know we're at the 36-minute mark, so everybody wants to go home. Well, stay home. Just get off the off the podcast and relax. Van Vliet. Where does Van Vliet end up? Does he go back to the Raptors? Justin, I'll go with you first.
I say he's going to Dallas.
Dallas. Ooh, okay. Okay. It's
So
going to
that
be like a
means
3-team
Kyrie's
signing
gone.
trade there.
Does that mean
Kyrie's gone.
Yeah, I think Kyrie's gone. I think they strike out and then they'll just throw a ton of money at Van Vliet. This is what Mark Cuban always does. He overpays some player that doesn't contribute on defense, and Van Vliet is perfect for that.
That's perfect, man. Rob, what do you think he ends up, man?
If James Harden doesn't go to Houston, I say Houston. If James Harden goes to Houston, I don't know. Maybe Orlando.
Wow. I do see him getting a short-term contract, though. Like
Maybe
max
Orlando
deal.
2 years.
Something like that.
2 years, $50 million. 2
Yeah.
years, maybe they might throw him 2 years, $60 million, pay him $30 a year. I mean, he has a ring. He has a championship. But he doesn't play any defense.
Yeah. At all.
He can
At
shoot
all, man.
his ass off. I saw him.
I'm telling you, look at the difference.
I went to the game here when they played the Heat this year. He killed the Heat.
He kills. Yeah, but he doesn't do anything defensively.
Yeah.
At all, man. James, how do you feel? I don't think the Lakers are considering Van Vliet, honestly, at this point. Or is that a consideration over there in Lakerland?
That's another one that I've seen on Twitter. So, I wouldn't rule it out necessarily. But another guy that, again, I don't know if his contract makes it doable for them or not, or like how they would work it all out and stuff. But it's one of those things where, again, it's hard to, I see so much stuff in, the Lakers Twitterverse and stuff that it's so hard to like pair through what's actually realistic or not. But I have seen Van Vliet to the Lakers rumored as well, which could be cool, but also like, I don't know, like maybe just hold on to D'Angelo Russell at that point. Like, I don't know if Van Vliet is really much better than D'Angelo Russell. But I do think my first thought when you're asking where I could picture Van Vliet going was, one of those Texas teams, Houston or San Antonio, were the first ones that came to mind. Agree with Justin on the Dallas thing if Kyrie's gone, which I wouldn't be surprised about. So I could see Van Vliet somewhere in Texas. This probably would be my guess.
And people don't realize this, but non-tax states like Texas and Florida makes a huge difference in some of these contracts.
True.
Where if you're building, you can take up a little bit less money because you'll be getting the equivalent if you're playing like in New York and all that. Obviously, these guys are always going to try to max out, which you got to give it to them. You got to max out your potential. This is career. This is life-changing money. So you understand these guys for sometimes leaving a good situation for the big payday. Like, you get that. Not everything is perfect in the NBA or across professional sports. So I understand that making that move. I even justify some guys going to horrible situations just for the money. But it's something like when you mentioned with Draymond Green, I like when you see if you Draymond moves like that, the aura of who Draymond Green is, like, would it follow him to the Lakers? It's just not the same. Obviously the Warriors will be basically almost a rebuild because he's kind of like that glue piece that holds that team together defensively, even offensively. Obviously with Curry and now with Paul, which I think Paul, if they keep him, which I'm 100% sure they're going to keep him, he's the backup point guard. He's a hell of a backup point guard to have. Once Steph is off the floor, just Paul plays a whole different style of game. He slows the ball down. I believe he's one of the slowest paced point guards in the NBA right now. So you kind of have like a two-dimensional thing. But to close up, you mentioned free agency starts the 30th. I'm gonna be out of town, so I'm gonna try to be in a Wi-Fi spot so I can see what happens when free agency hits, what contracts are agreed randomly, miraculously. How many days is the monetary period where you can kind of agree to contracts and not sign anything? Is that still like a 3-day window or like a 4-day window, or they take that out? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't know.
You remember there was like a period where you could agree to a contract and then you sign officially like after a certain time period, or they just remove that?
You talking about the offer sheet?
Yeah, like that was the offer sheet before. Like that, they changed it. It used to be seven days, and now it's like 2 days. But there was a period that you can agree to contracts and you can just sign right off the bat.
Deals can't be agreed upon, and they can't be officially signed until July 6th.
Yep.
Okay, so we got 5 days of negotiations.
Start negotiating.
I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I love all these contracts at the moment. There's nothing funnier to me than when it's 12:01 and all of a sudden Woj just dropping contract. Oh, they agreed to a 4-year deal. Like, wait a second.
That was quick. Yeah.
Which is funny to me because you can't control players tampering. Like, can a player tamper with a team? Like, for example, like Damian says, like, oh yeah, I think I want to go to the Heat. Can he legally do that, Justin?
I mean, if they're
because I know a team executive can't do that.
In Cancun, then I don't see why not. But if it's Matt Riley saying it publicly, then yeah, that's tampering.
Oh man, this is gonna be a fun few days. Heat fans, I'm gonna tell you to be patient. I know Oladipo. We didn't touch about Oladipo opted in, so obviously we gotta have his contract, which is tradable now. He officially opted in. Oladipo, realistically, he's gonna miss the whole 2024, the 23-24 season. He might make it back later before the playoffs start, but basically this is a wash for Oladipo. I wouldn't doubt that he resigns a future years at a minimum contract, but most likely he'll be part of any trade. Lowry's going to be part of any trade, depending on the Dame situation. That's what I tell you guys. Always keep an eye out for this. The Dame situation, the longer it drags out, the more beneficial it is for Miami assets-wise, because it's really going to be either traded to the Heat or he's going to stay in Portland. That's how I see the Dame situation playing out. And then obviously we have a backup plan. You're going to talk to Gabe, which supposedly Pat Riley's already started free agency is going to mention Gabe. It's kind of like one of those wink deals that you have this team going where this is your deal, and if we don't acquire this player, this is the deal I'm going to give you. Or they might sign Gabe Vincent right off the bat and then trade Lowry or Oladipo or try to move them. But you might want to secure Vincent, even if you got Bouger coming in, Kane getting some roster minutes. Summer League's going to be exciting. So I know we're big on the developmental part. We got to wait it out. A substantial trade, a significant trade might not be done, Heat Nation, until August, late July, late August. So this could drag down. What are you most looking forward to, Justin? I'll go with you at the start of free agency, man.
The James Harden domino is the most interesting story to me. Either all these rumors are going to be put to rest or they're going to be proven right. And then City of Houston is going to be pretty lively if that happens.
Man, and I'm just excited for Houston because you guys have a young team. It went from 2 years ago, you had John Wall sitting on your bench making $44 million and people criticizing Green and this and that. I'm like, guys, you guys are going to have talent, man. You're going to have talent. You're going to – Whitmore fell to their lap. You saw me – I thought that he was going to go with Whitmore. I thought that he was going to go Whitmore at 18. I couldn't believe he dropped. I don't know why he dropped, but he basically fell to your lap, and you have the Thompson twin. You guys are going to be decent for the next 10-plus years.
And it feels good knowing – it feels good knowing in Houston – you've never really had that guy since probably Hakeem or Craig Biggio.
Yes.
Super young. They stay nearly or their whole career, and they win multiple championships. Biggio never did. Hakeem won 2. But it's been a long time. The Texans have never done jack shit. And then
hey, but the Texans are building the right way too.
And that became their franchise for years. But everything just seems so unsustainable. Like, what were they going to do when – like the end of this window reached? They had no assets, and then they flip Harden, and all of a sudden, finally, they go with the build through the draft. Like, thank you. Like, this is exciting, getting to see these young guys grow. Like, Miami had Wade from day one. That was exciting. You got to see him, and he became the adopted son in Miami and became the culture.
And one thing that I do think about, James, the new CBA, a lot of these teams, obviously, they're not big market. It kind of benefits you because you saw what Denver built. The past championship teams you've seen, it's been a slow, progressive build, not just a home run hit. Honestly, the last home run hit, a decent signing or acquired player, was the Boston Celtics, because even the Heat with the Big Three era, you came into a situation where you lost the first year and you had to build out your roster. I know we won it in back-to-back years, but realistically, people forget about this. we could have lost that San Antonio series without Ray Allen hitting that three. So we could have been back. They would have altered that team. For sure, that team wouldn't have remained the same. Possibly Bosch being traded. There was a lot of things hanging on that championship. But this new CBA kind of forces the hand where teams have to develop. And for many years, the NBA just stayed away from it. It's like, we'll buy out talent, which is one thing I know you feel as a Lakers fan. The one critique I always have on LeBron, when LeBron goes to a team, he kind of guts your draft assets automatically. And you mentioned it. It happened here in Miami. They knew they were going to opt out after the fourth year. They still made Pat Riley trade first-round picks and second-round picks to acquire the rights and give him a 6-year fully guaranteed deal, which in hindsight, I don't know why they did it, because I would have stood my ground. I'm like, you're going to opt out after 4. I'm going to give you a 4-year deal, max contract, but I'm going to keep it because that's how you build the team. That's how you build championship teams. That's why Denver went out and acquired 3 first-round picks for the next couple of years because they need to. They have even Michael Porter Jr.'s contract, which I feel they might move eventually. You're going to keep Murray. You're going to keep Jokic. You're Jokic. You have to somehow balance the books. And I know we get a bad rap here. They call Mickey Harrison cheap. We're going to be in the tax, Heat Nation. We're going to be in the tax. It's just down to, is it worth it to be in the second apron with the limitations and restrictions that are and the personnel that you're going to have in that second apron? Makes sense? Then you go for it. So I'll end on this, James. First of all, thank you for being on with us. What is your ideal scenario? Free agency, Lakerland. Tell me, first news. What do you want to hear, man?
The first thing I want to hear is that the Lakers are re-signing Austin Reeves. That's, I think, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy that I'm saying it. I would not have guessed it 2 years ago, but I think that's the big thing, because if they don't bring Austin Reeves back, then there's going to be a whole different domino effect of how the Lakers are going to build themselves for next season. And I really do think that he is that kind of guy that can keep it up, and he can be that, third best option on a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
And I will say this: I was vying for Rui for what you guys acquired Rui for. I thought a lot of teams could have made a play for it. I can't believe Washington just gave up on Rui. He is one of the best components that you guys had, and even at times they didn't play him enough, in my opinion.
Yep.
They didn't play him enough, and I felt he could have been an integral part of that rotation. For the Malik Beasley, obviously he's probably a goner. Is Malik Beasley under contract? Or is a free agent?
I think he's under contract, but
okay,
yeah,
so you might move him.
Yeah, I think
you might move him.
I would be surprised to see him in a Laker uniform next season.
And James, since I have you here, man, and what is your thought process? Because this is something that intrigues me.
Yeah,
I understand LeBron throughout the retirement talk. We all kind of knew, like, that's bullshit. He's not going to retire.
You're right. Yeah.
How do you feel in regards to the situation with Bronny? Do you feel there is a scenario where the Lakers are preparing for LeBron? Is LeBron in the contract for 2 more years or another year after this one?
I think it's this season and then another year after this next season.
And another year after that one. Okay. Are they prepared to trade LeBron James if he wants to go play with Bronny?
I think so. The thing is, the Lakers, and this is what I've loved about the Lakers so far, is their scouting department is it's elite. The guys that have left the Lakers have been great for the most part. The guys that the Lakers have drafted have been great or pretty good at least. And so the Lakers, I feel like from a scouting standpoint and a drafting standpoint, are going to make the right decisions. And if they don't believe that Bronny is, the kind of guy that they want to bring in from a pure basketball standpoint, not considering him tied to LeBron, considering where LeBron's at in his career, I don't think that the Lakers are going to move mountains to try and draft or bring in Bronny just to hold on to LeBron James. I think, and if they do, I personally think that would be a wrong decision. I just think that LeBron's great. I've loved LeBron being a Laker. I'm a big LeBron fan, but you can't deny that he's eventually coming to the end of his career. Maybe that's in 3 years, maybe that's in 5 years, who knows, right? But we're seeing him slow down, right? He had this foot injury that he did somehow come back from, which was very impressive, very incredible. But this injury, who knows how that's going to affect him? He was still really good in the playoffs, even battling through this situation. But this was the first time that we saw him in the playoffs not be able to be the guy 100% of the time, And so I think that the Lakers will do what is right for the organization while still being good to LeBron. The Lakers like to treat their stars well, but I don't think that they're going to bring, like I said, move mountains to bring in Bronny just to hold on to LeBron, because I just think that they're going to make the right decision from a prospect and talent standpoint, as opposed to just bringing in a guy because LeBron wants to play with his son. So a trade, if that means trading LeBron, I wouldn't be shocked. I also would. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I would be kind of surprised to see it happen, because like, who's actually going to trade LeBron James? But also at the same time, I think when it comes around to that, I think it probably would be the right decision. And there were times, like a couple seasons ago, when LeBron's out, the Lakers are struggling in the middle of the season, and he's just out there at the All-Star break talking about how he wants to play with his son and do whatever he can to play with Bronny. And it's like, okay, at that point as a Lakers fan, I'm like, I don't really like, if your loyalty is more so, or if your focus is more so on that and less on like winning with the Lakers, then, I wouldn't be mad if the Lakers had traded him back then either. So I'm definitely pro doing what's right for the organization. And I think that, just considering LeBron's age, especially, that doing what you can to bring in Bronny isn't really probably the best basketball decision. So,
agree, man. Justin, before I go, says I'm not going to be here for free agency, and obviously you can message me through Twitter, and I'll try to respond as quickly as I get to the Wi-Fi spot. I'm going to try my best. July 1st, July 30th, midnight, July 1st. I'm going to try my best to be accessible and kind of know what's going on. I'm going to give you my predictions, Justin. I want you to give me your predictions with the Heat. I do believe we're going to re-sign Gabe Vincent. I believe Max Strus is gone the moment free agency opens, because the moment they drafted Jaime Jaquez, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall. Like, that's it. We're not going to spend extra on Strus, in my opinion. So I think Strus is gone. There's a Thursday deadline, and I might be gone. There's a Thursday deadline to offer Omer that restricted, so he can become a restricted free agent. So they have a qualifying offer deadline for Thursday. I don't know if they offer it because of the whole Cody Zeller situation, the depth situation. He might be your option, but you do got Orlando Robinson. You got Jamal Cain with depth. You got Jovic, which what I'm looking forward to is the summer league, like we mentioned. So for sure, I think Vincent signs, and then we maneuver around what we want to do with Dame. If we trade Kyle, Duncan, Hero, I believe that obviously that becomes a talk of the package, and the assets might demeanor a little bit. But what is your prediction, Justin? First day of free agency with the Heat. What do you see them doing?
First day free agency, they're going to make an attempt to sign either one of Max Strus or Gabe Vincent, and they're only going to be able to keep one. So I'll leave that to Pat Riley to decide, because I trust his gut. From there, I see Tyler Hero's name coming up in a lot of trade talks. You're going to see Woj, Windy up there on TV saying, I'm hearing a lot of chatter about Tyler Hero.
Does he survive another one? He survived 3, man. He survived 3. So that's an interesting point, man. And you know what? Even this scenario, and I'll end up with this, because I want to ask, strictly from a basketball standpoint, if nothing materializes and you can't acquire talent, Rob, perfect. You're here for the end, man. I want to hear this one. I want to get your point of view in this one. Me, I'm the GM, right? I understand if I wave and stretch out Kyle Lowry, it's because I'm signing someone right now, and I'm willing to live with that $9 million cap hit for the next 3 years. If nothing materializes in free agency, obviously the Dame situation doesn't pan out. How do you feel about keeping Kyle this year? Obviously, you're going into the tax. You're kind of holding because you only have to get under the tax before the season ends, before the end of the basketball season. So do you have ways to maneuver around to February, which his contract might become more valuable and you can a little bit more tradable, but it also could backfire because teams know that you need to trade this player or waive him. So are you okay with a scenario where you see Kyle remaining in the team, where if you re-sign Vincent, you kind of go with the same rotation you had in the playoffs, obviously adding Jaime and any other buyout candidate that you might be able to sign, because you're probably keeping Love. I think Love might agree to come back if you got a level exception or a minimum contract. So how do you feel about that Kyle Lowry scenario, Rob? How do you think that's going to play out, man, realistically?
If nothing happens in free agency, then, keep him, and see what happens first half of the year. Trade deadline, make some trades, make some moves, maybe waive them.
Hey, and there's
It won't
injuries.
hurt. I mean, it won't
There
hurt.
might be a contender.
You go the first half of the season, see what happens, see what your record looks like, and then go from there. Yeah.
One of these things that kind of the situation with John Collins. People last year were pressing the heat. Go for John Collins. Go for John Collins. Trade your assets, this and that. John Collins just became a roster move where it was because ownership told Landry Fields like we got to get under the salary. We got to get under the salary cap. We're not going to be a tax team. And then you're possibly moving. What is it? Oh my God, Hunter. What's his first name? DeAndre Hunter. Is it DeAndre Hunter?
Yeah.
From the Hawks.
Yeah.
First of all, I love him. So there's so many movable pieces that's what I'm most excited about. This free agency is going to be haywire because there's so many moving pieces that a lot of people are going to be surprised where some of these players end up. And it might not be right off the bat. There might be some crazy trades that come out. But obviously, we'll be on Damian watch until further notice. Like I said before, fast break. There might not be no fast break next week because obviously it's July 4th, holiday. Happy birthday, America, freedom. So we'll celebrate that. Hopefully Monday, I'm going to see it. I'll talk to Bobby. If you guys are available, I come back into town like around 6, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If we're available, we might do a free agency special. We might do it later in the week. So we'll keep you posted. I want to thank you, Rob, for coming out. Any last words, man?
No, man. Appreciate you guys for having me on. Well, I guess I am a part of the show now. And nice
of
to meet
course.
you guys. My guys from the West Coast, hope y'all join us again. And it's always fun talking hoops with you guys, man.
Yeah, Justin, too. I want to give a shot because people might Clutch is traveling the whole summer, so Clutch is not going to be with us. He might appear in some episodes here and there when he's not sleeping because obviously it's a 6-hour difference where he's at. So let's give Clutch the final word because he always says no and then he follows it up. So I'm going to miss that in the meantime. But James, pleasure. Thank you for coming on. You always have an open invite. After free agency, we would love to have you back. When the dust settles, could kind of see where the Lakers are at, and we can compare apples to apples, man.
Sounds great. No, it's been great. Thanks for having me on.
Man, Justin, much love. You're on next. No, not next week. No, the following. Justin, are you traveling? Or we have you.
I'm going to Philly tomorrow for 24 hours, and then I'm good for the next couple weeks.
Perfect. When you're in Philly, if you get any info, text me, all right? So we can get some insight. All right, Miami. By the next time you see us, free agencies be full on board. There's going to be roster movement all across the board, and it should be fun. So stay tuned. Heat Nation, be patient. Trust us this time. Be patient. Take care, Miami. Good night.